Whispers of Willow Creek Part 1. The Morning Routine. The sun rose gently over Willow Creek, spilling a soft golden light across the rooftops and winding streets. Its warmth was subtle, not sharp or intrusive, just enough to brush the earth with a faint glow. Morning in the town always came quietly, almost like a slow exhale after the deep night. The air smelled faintly of dew and grass, mixed with the lingering sweetness of flowers that had survived the night. James stirred under the light cotton covers of his bed. The sheets were cool, the pillow soft, and the slow warmth of the sun touching his face made it easy to wake without hurry. He yawned, stretching his arms above his head, feeling the small crackle of muscles loosening. There was no urgency in his movements, only the gentle unfolding of another day. The window beside him rattled slightly with a soft morning breeze, carrying the faint scent of earth and distant firewood smoke. Rising from the bed, James padded barefoot across the wooden floor. The house creaked slightly beneath his weight, the familiar sound blending with the low hum of morning. He walked slowly to the kitchen, noticing the small things that made the room feel alive, the light reflecting off the countertop, the way the kettle's handle felt smooth under his hand, the faint hum of the refrigerator. The coffee pot sat waiting, clean and dry, its black surface catching the sun just enough to glimmer. He filled it with water, measured the grounds carefully, and set it on the stove. The hiss of the flame was soft, steady, almost hypnotic. He watched the steam curl and twist, curling upward in lazy spirals before disappearing into the air. It was a small, meditative routine, one he had repeated countless mornings, yet each time it felt new in its simplicity. While the coffee brewed, James moved to the small garden outside. The garden was modest but cared for with attention. Rows of green stretched across the small backyard, leaves glistening with early dew. The roses were just beginning to bloom, their petals a delicate pink, while the lavender swayed slightly in the breeze. He knelt, gently brushing his fingers against the soil, feeling its cool, crumbly texture. The world was quiet, except for the soft chirping of sparrows perched on the fence and the distant bark of a dog somewhere down the street. Watering the plants was a rhythmic, soothing task. The water hissed as it met the soil, and James moved slowly from one row to the next, listening to the faint sounds of life all around him. Bees buzzed lazily from flower to flower, and he watched them without haste, noting their delicate movements. Even the garden's smallest details seemed alive in the gentle morning light, the way a leaf curled slightly at the edges, or how a spider's web glistened with dew. By the time he returned inside, the coffee had finished brewing. He poured the warm, dark liquid into a simple white mug, and carried it to the small table by the window. Sitting down, he watched the sun climb slowly above the horizon. The streets were quiet now, only a few neighbors beginning to stir. A bicycle rolled gently down the lane, its tires humming softly on the asphalt. Somewhere, a newspaper rustled as it was being folded and carried inside. James sipped the coffee slowly, savoring the warmth and the faint bitterness, allowing each mouthful to settle into a moment of calm. He watched as the light shifted across the room, brushing against the wooden floor and the walls painted a soft cream. Time seemed to stretch, elongated by the slow rhythm of morning life. He noticed the subtle movements of the house, the way the curtains swayed slightly with the breeze, the faint ticking of the wall clock, and the way sunlight pooled in golden patches on the floor. After finishing his coffee, James moved to the living room, where a small armchair waited by the window. He sat down, taking a deep breath, feeling the comfort of familiar furniture and the soft weight of a woolen blanket draped over the back of the chair. Outside, a gentle wind stirred the trees, causing their leaves to rustle softly. The sound was steady and calming, almost like a lullaby carried on the air. For a while, he simply sat, listening to the town wake up at its own pace. The postman moved quietly along the street, leaving letters in neat piles at the doorsteps. A cat padded silently along the fence, its paws barely making a sound. The world outside was alive, but not noisy. It was filled with small movements and soft, natural sounds. James closed his eyes for a brief moment, letting them sink into the quiet rhythm of morning. The house itself seemed to breathe alongside him. The gentle creak of the floorboards, the faint hum of electricity, and the occasional whisper of wind through the window frames all contributed to a feeling of calm. Each sound was familiar, predictable, and comforting. He allowed himself to notice them without judgment, simply letting them exist alongside him. After a while, he rose and moved to the kitchen once more, preparing a simple breakfast. Toast browned slowly in the toaster, the aroma filling the room gently. Eggs sizzled softly in a pan, the sound steady and calming. He arranged everything carefully on the table, enjoying the simple act of placing each item in its place. There was no rush, no urgency, only the quiet, deliberate movements of someone entirely present in the moment. Breakfast was eaten slowly, each bite taken with mindfulness. He noticed the textures, the subtle flavors, and the warmth of the food. Outside, the sun had climbed higher, illuminating the town with a gentle, golden glow. Windows reflected the light in tiny, sparkling bursts. Birds continued to sing in the trees, and somewhere, a distant lawnmower hummed quietly, a low, steady drone that added to the tapestry of morning sounds. After finishing his meal, James washed the dishes, the water warm and soothing against his hands. He moved methodically, each plate and utensil carefully cleaned and returned to its place. The rhythmic motions, the sound of water flowing, and the gentle clinking of dishes created a quiet, meditative atmosphere. With the chores complete, he wandered back to the living room. The light had shifted slightly, casting soft shadows along the walls. He picked up a book from the small shelf by the armchair, running his fingers along its spine before opening it to the first page. The words were simple, the story gentle, and he read slowly, allowing each sentence to unfold naturally. The sounds of the town outside continued, faint but consistent. The flutter of leaves, the occasional distant footstep, the soft chirping of birds. Time passed quietly, measured in small details. A clock ticked softly, a breeze moved through the open window, and James continued reading, absorbed in the calm, steady rhythm of the story. The warmth of the sun lingered on his shoulders, and the house felt safe, familiar, and entirely tranquil. As the morning moved toward noon, he set the book aside, stretching his arms gently. There was no rush, no urgency, only the continuous, soothing flow of a day beginning slowly. He noticed the patterns of light across the room, the subtle movements of shadows, and the faint smells of coffee and toast lingering in the air. Each small observation added to a sense of grounded presence, of being entirely in the moment, entirely part of the calm rhythm of life in Willow Creek. By now, the town was fully awake, but still calm. People moved about quietly, their own routines gentle and unhurried. The distant sound of children playing reached him faintly, mixed with the soft hum of morning traffic and the whisper of wind through the trees. It was a comfortable, peaceful soundscape, the kind that allowed one's thoughts to drift gently without tension or worry. James rose from the chair and wandered toward the back porch. He leaned against the railing, feeling the wood smooth and warm beneath his hands. He watched the garden, now fully bathed in sunlight, every leaf and petal illuminated softly. The scent of flowers and earth mixed with the warmth of the sun to create a gentle, soothing atmosphere. Time seemed almost suspended, measured only in small, deliberate movements and soft, natural sounds. He stayed there for a long while, breathing slowly, noticing each detail of the morning. The gentle sway of branches, the distant hum of life, the soft flutter of a bird landing nearby, all of it blended into a calm, continuous rhythm. Each small sensation carried with it a subtle sense of peace, a reassurance that the world moved at a gentle, predictable pace. Finally, as the sun climbed higher in the sky, James moved back inside. He carried with him the quiet, steady calm of the morning, the small details and slow rhythm that made life feel grounded. There was a sense of continuity, a gentle reassurance in the ordinary, a soft comfort in the predictable. The day was only beginning, and yet it had already unfolded with a slow, peaceful rhythm, the kind that made one feel entirely at ease. He walked through the house, noticing each familiar detail, the texture of the walls, the gentle creak of the floorboards. The light shifting across the room and felt a profound calm settle over him. The morning had been ordinary, quiet, uneventful, and yet it was perfect in its simplicity. It was a morning made for rest, reflection, and gentle presence. James paused for a moment, standing in the center of the living room, and took a deep breath. The house, the garden, the town itself, all of it, was quiet, peaceful, and entirely ordinary. And in that ordinariness, there was comfort, calm, and the perfect lull of a slow, gentle day beginning. Whispers of Willow Creek Part 2, A Walk Around Town, TTS friendly version. The morning was calm in Willow Creek. The sun rose slowly. Its light was soft. James stepped outside his house. The porch felt warm beneath his feet. He took a deep breath. The air was cool and fresh. He wore his worn sneakers. The laces felt soft in his hands. He tied them slowly. The street was quiet. Only a few leaves moved in the wind. James began to walk. His steps were slow. Each one felt steady. The town was waking up. Small shops opened their doors. The baker placed fresh bread in the window. Its smell spread softly. James smiled faintly. He loved the calm of the morning. He walked past a bookstore. The windows were dusty. Inside, books sat neatly on shelves. James imagined the sound of pages turning. The smell of paper filled the air in his mind. The store was quiet and still. The fountain in the town square gurgled softly. Water trickled over smooth stones. Pigeons cooed nearby. Their wings moved slowly. James stopped to watch. The movement was calm. It felt peaceful. He continued down the cobblestone street. The stones were cool beneath his shoes. Each step made a soft sound. He noticed small things. The sunlight reflected on metal railings. Flowers swayed gently in window boxes. A dog walked slowly nearby. Its tail wagged lazily. Its owner followed behind. James nodded at them. They nodded back. The street was quiet. Only soft sounds filled the air. He turned onto a side street. Houses were old and muted. Paint was faded on the walls. Ivy climbed on the porches. Leaves rustled softly. A cat slept on a windowsill. Its tail twitched once in a dream. The smell of grass drifted from a nearby yard. James breathed it in. It mixed with the scent of fresh coffee. The morning smelled gentle and calm. He felt peaceful as he walked. The street narrowed. He passed a small garden. Flowers nodded slowly in the breeze. Bees moved from flower to flower. Their wings buzzed softly. Everything seemed slow and calm. He reached a small park. The grass was trimmed neatly. Benches sat empty except for a newspaper. A swing moved slightly in the wind. It creaked softly. James walked along the gravel path. The stones crunched lightly under his shoes. A pond appeared at the edge of the park. Ducks floated lazily on the water. Tiny ripples spread outward in soft circles. The sun reflected on the water. It shimmered gently. James stopped for a moment. He watched the slow movement of water. Further along, a cafe began to open. Cups and plates clinked quietly. The barista arranged pastries carefully. James watched the soft, deliberate movements. They were calm and simple. Everything moved slowly and gently. James noticed a lamppost. Dew clung to its surface. Tiny droplets glinted in the sunlight. They sparkled softly. A faint hum of distant traffic blended with birdsong. The sounds felt smooth and steady. A narrow alley caught his eye. He walked in slowly. A stray leaf rested against a brick wall. Small graffiti faded with time. A puddle reflected the sky. Even hidden corners felt calm and still. He emerged from the alley. Tall oak trees lined the street. Their branches formed a soft canopy above. Sunlight passed through the leaves. Dappled patterns danced on the ground. James walked beneath them slowly. A small fountain appeared on the corner. Water fell into the basin gently. The sound was steady and soothing. James paused and listened. Each drop blended with the faint wind. The sound made him feel calm. A street musician began to play. Notes drifted softly from the guitar. The melody was slow and gentle. James listened carefully. Each note moved slowly through the air. It blended with the soft sounds of the town. Asterisk, he passed a row of houses. Each had a small garden. Flowers swayed gently in the breeze. The scent of roses and lavender drifted softly. The air was calm and warm. James continued walking slowly. Asterisk, he came to a footbridge over a small creek. Water flowed lazily beneath. Ripples spread outward gently. Sunlight shimmered on the water. He leaned on the railing and watched. The sound of flowing water was soothing. Asterisk, time seemed slow. James walked back toward the center of town. People moved softly around him. Shopkeepers arranged displays quietly. Neighbors greeted each other gently. The town moved at a calm pace. Asterisk, James returned to his street. Sunlight shone on familiar rooftops. Gardens glowed softly in the morning. Shadows shifted slowly with the sun. The rhythm of the town felt steady. Each movement was soft and predictable. Asterisk, he paused on his porch. He breathed slowly. The air smelled of grass and flowers. The breeze brushed gently against his face. Everything felt peaceful and calm. Asterisk, James looked around the town. Everything moved slowly. Each sound, each movement, was soft and steady. The world felt safe and familiar. He felt relaxed. Asterisk, he went inside his house. The porch door closed with a gentle click. The morning's calm stayed with him. Each detail of the walk lingered in his mind. The sunlight, the flowers, the fountain. The duck's soul blended into a sense of peace. Asterisk, he walked through the living room slowly. The walls were warm in the sunlight. The wooden floor creaked softly under his feet. Each familiar detail made him feel calm. He paused to notice the shadows. They moved slowly as the sun climbed higher. Asterisk, the soft sounds of life continued outside. A distant dog barked quietly. Leaves rustled on the trees. Birds called to each other softly. James listened without hurry. He let the sounds flow over him gently. Asterisk, he sat near the window. The sunlight touched his shoulders softly. He watched the small movements outside. A neighbor walked slowly along the sidewalk. Children rode bicycles gently. Each movement was calm, steady, and familiar. Asterisk, James closed his eyes for a moment. He breathed deeply and slowly. The rhythm of his breath matched the rhythm of the town. The calm morning wrapped around him like a soft blanket. Asterisk, he opened his eyes. Sunlight was brighter now, warming the streets. Shadows shifted slowly. The air smelled faintly of coffee and grass. Each soft sound added to the peaceful rhythm. Asterisk, he rose from the chair. He walked to the garden outside. Flowers glowed in the sunlight. Leaves swayed in the breeze. Bees moved lazily from bloom to bloom. The garden felt calm, alive, but gentle. Asterisk, James moved slowly through the garden. The soft earth felt cool under his feet. Each step was deliberate. Each sound was small and soothing. He touched the leaves gently. He noticed the dew sparkling in the sun. Asterisk, a bird landed nearby. It hopped softly on the grass. Its movements were slow and careful. It chirped once, then stayed still. James watched it quietly. He felt calm and peaceful. The sun continued to rise. Light filled the garden. Shadows moved gently across the grass. The breeze carried the scents of earth and flowers. James breathed deeply and slowly. He returned to the house. Each step was calm and deliberate. The porch was warm beneath his feet. He opened the door softly. The morning sounds followed him inside. He walked through each room slowly. Light shifted across the walls and floors. Everything felt familiar and safe. He paused to notice the small details. Each detail brought a gentle sense of calm. James sat once more near the window. The town continued its quiet rhythm outside. Leaves swayed softly. Birds called gently. Children laughed quietly in the distance. He closed his eyes. The calm of the morning filled him completely. His breath was steady and slow. The gentle sounds of Willow Creek continued to surround him. Time felt suspended. Nothing moved too fast. Everything had its soft, natural rhythm. James felt completely present. Calm and peace wrapped around him like a blanket. The sun climbed higher. Warm light filled every corner. Shadows shifted slowly. Soft sounds of life continued outside. The town felt alive, but gentle. James remained seated. He breathed slowly. He noticed every small movement outside. The fountain trickled. Leaves rustled. Birds called. Ducks moved on the pond. Everything was calm. Every sound was soft. Every movement was gentle. James felt at peace. He stood finally. Walked slowly through the rooms. Each step was quiet. Each sound was small. He paused to notice shadows. They moved with the sun. He went to the porch again. Breathed in fresh air. Felt the warmth of the sun. The breeze brushed his face. Every sound, every sight, felt peaceful. The morning was fully awake now. Yet, everything moved gently. Shops opened quietly. People walked slowly. Dogs wandered lazily. Children rode bikes softly. The rhythm of life was steady. James returned inside. Closed the door softly. The calm of the town stayed with him. The soft sounds of morning filled the house. His mind felt clear. His body relaxed. He sat near the window again. Sunlight filled the room. The garden glowed outside. Birds called softly. Leaves swayed in the breeze. Every detail was calm and familiar. James closed his eyes. Breathed in deeply. Let the rhythm of Willow Creek fill him. The town moved gently. The morning continued its slow, steady pace. Peace wrapped around him completely. Whispers of Willow Creek, Part 4. Evening Whispers, TTS friendly version. Approximately 2,500 words. The sun began to lower over Willow Creek. Light stretched long across the ground. The sky turned pale gold, then soft orange. Shadows reached quietly from every tree. James sat on his porch again. The air was cooler now. He could feel the change, the slow drift from day to evening. The wind carried a faint chill. It smelled of wood, grass, and faraway smoke. Someone was lighting their first evening fire. The smoke mixed gently with the scent of flowers. The sound of the fountain still reached him, soft, steady, peaceful. It had played all day, never hurrying, never stopping. James leaned back in his chair. He watched the colors shift above the rooftops. Blue turned to violet. Violet melted into a soft pink glow. A few clouds drifted lazily across the sky. They caught the light and burned gold. Birds flew home in slow, curved lines. Their wings flashed once, then disappeared behind the trees. The air grew still. The world seemed to hold its breath. It was the quiet hour. The space between light and dark. James stood up slowly. He stepped down from the porch. The ground was cool beneath his shoes. The path ahead glowed faintly in the fading light. He walked toward the park. Again, the same streets he had walked that morning. But everything looked different now. The light changed everything. Shadows touched the fences. Golden rays slipped across windows. The sound of crickets began to rise. It was soft at first, like a whisper. He passed the small cafe. The tables were half empty now. People spoke in low voices. Their laughter was soft, fading with the light. The scent of coffee drifted out the door. It mixed with the evening air. Warm, rich, and familiar. James smiled as he passed. The cobblestones shone faintly. Light from the lamps touched their edges. The first few streetlights flickered on. Their glow spread slowly, like gentle fireflies. James stopped near the fountain. It shimmered under the orange sky. The water caught the last of the sunlight. Drops turned to gold. Before they fell, he sat on the stone edge and listened. The fountain's rhythm was calm, unbroken. It had the same patience as the town itself. Soft, unhurried, eternal. Few children played nearby. Their voices were light and distant. They chased shadows, laughing softly. Their joy echoed against the old buildings. James watched them for a while. It reminded him of years long gone. He could almost see himself among them. A boy running through the same square. Carefree, laughing in the same light. The thought made him smile. But it also filled him with a quiet ache. Time moved gently, but it always moved. The light, the laughter, the sound all drifted on like water. He stood again. The sun was almost gone. Only a thin line of gold remained at the edge of the hills. The sky deepened into a glowing purple blue. He began to walk toward the creek. The air was cooler. There, the scent of water and moss filled the air. Leaves rustled in the trees. The small bridge stood quiet and still. He leaned against the railing and looked down. The water reflected the darkening sky. Tiny ripples moved slowly under the fading light. Asterisk, a frog croaked. Softly near the bank, fireflies blinked in the grass. One by one, they lit the edge of the water. The world turned to quiet gold and silver. James breathed deeply. He could feel the cool air fill his chest. It felt clean, still, and full of peace. He closed his eyes for a moment. The sound of evening surrounded him. Asterisk, the creek. The wind, the faint hum of insects. Each sound was small and perfect. They blended together like a lullaby. Asterisk, when he opened his eyes, the first stars had begun to appear. Tiny lights in the wide, soft sky. Asterisk, they shimmered above the rooftops of Willow Creek. Asterisk, he turned and walked back toward town. The lamps now glowed on every corner. There, light spread in gentle circles on the road. Asterisk, shadows moved slowly between them. The bakery had closed, but a soft warmth still came from its windows. The smell of bread lingered in the air. It mixed with the cool wind. Asterisk, he passed the bookstore next. Asterisk, its windows glowed faintly from a single lamp inside. Asterisk, the old man was still there, sitting quietly behind the counter. James lifted a hand in greeting. Asterisk, the man smiled and nodded. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. The square was almost empty now. Only the sound of the fountain remained. Asterisk, it was joined by the soft chirp of crickets. Asterisk, the night was beginning to sing. Asterisk, James crossed the square. Slowly, asterisk, he could feel the stone under his shoes. Asterisk, the cool air on his face. The soft hum of the streetlights above. He paused near a lamppost. Asterisk, its light flickered gently, drawing small moths that danced around it. Their wings shimmered like dust in the glow. The town felt timeless, old and young at once. Asterisk, each sound, each light seemed to carry a memory. James felt part of it. A quiet note in the song of Willow Creek. Asterisk. He walked past the houses. Curtains glowed softly behind the glass. Shadows moved, families sitting down to dinner. Asterisk, voices low. Laughter quiet. The smell of food drifted through the windows. It mixed with the scent of grass and smoke. Asterisk, life moved on. Gently, peacefully. Evening wrapped around everything. When he reached his own street, the trees above were full of faint starlight. Leaves rustled in a soft rhythm. Asterisk, the air was cool against his skin. He walked slowly to his porch. The wood creaked under his steps. Asterisk, he stopped for a moment before sitting down. Asterisk, the view before him was calm and golden gray. Asterisk, the lamp by the gate glowed faintly. Asterisk, insects danced in its soft circle of light. Asterisk, the sound of the creek drifted through the air. Asterisk, it blended with the quiet hum of night. Asterisk, James leaned back in his chair. Asterisk, he felt the stillness settle inside him. Asterisk, the whole town seemed to exhale together a single breath of peace. He looked up at the sky. More stars had appeared. They shone like tiny fires scattered through velvet. Asterisk, each one steady, patient, eternal. Asterisk, he thought about how many nights asterisk the same stars had watched over Willow Creek. Asterisk, how Many evenings had come and gone, the thought made him smile softly. Time didn't rush here. It moved like water, gentle and slow. Every sound, every moment was part of something endless and kind. He heard footsteps on the road. A neighbor walked by, lantern in hand. They waved to each other without words. The light passed slowly down the street, then faded into the dark. James stayed still. The night deepened. The crickets sang, louder now. The air cooled further, calm and sweet. He could hear the faint sound of the clock tower. It struck 8. Slow and steady, each chime echoed softly through the town. It marked the rhythm of peace. He closed his eyes again. The world was calm. The soft sounds of life continued. A door closing. A dog barking once. The creek whispering behind the trees. He breathed slowly. The warmth of the day faded from his skin, but the peace of it remained inside him, still and gentle, like the night itself. After a while, he stepped off the porch and looked around. The road glowed faintly under the stars. The lamplight shimmered on the leaves. He walked to the gate and paused. The town was quiet. The roofs, the trees, the soft sounds, all part of a calm picture. He could hear the fountain faintly in the distance. Even now. It kept its rhythm. Drop by drop, whisper by whisper. James smiled. He turned back toward his house. The air was cool, but kind. The porch light flickered softly behind him. He opened the door and stepped inside. The room glowed with warm lamplight. The wooden floor creaked under his feet. He set the small book on the table. He looked around. Everything was still. Familiar, safe. The walls, the clock, the faint shadows, all part of the same piece. He sat near the window. Outside. The stars blinked softly. The wind brushed the trees. A dog barked once, then fell silent. James rested his hands on the windowsill, felt the coolness of the glass. The night air moved gently through the open pane. He breathed it in slowly. The town was asleep now. But it wasn't silent. It whispered softly, endlessly through water, through leaves, through time. He watched the soft flicker of the street lamps. They glowed like guardians of peace. Each one hummed faintly in the dark. Each one kept the rhythm of Willow Creek. The sound of the fountain drifted again, barely reaching through the quiet streets. Its whisper was steady and kind. It lulled the town to sleep. James leaned back and closed his eyes. The warmth of the lamp touched his face. The sound of night wrapped around him like a blanket. He smiled one last time. The peace of the day, the calm of the town, the soft voice of the night, all became one inside him. Outside. The stars burned quietly. The creek whispered its endless song. The fountain spoke in silver notes. And the town of Willow Creek slept. Whispers of Willow Creek, Part 5. The Night and the Memory. The night settled deep over Willow Creek. The world had grown quiet. The streets were empty. The lamps hummed softly in the still air. The stars hung high above, cold and bright against the endless dark. A soft wind drifted through the trees, carrying the scent of pine, dust, and distant rain. James sat by his window again. The same chair, the same table. But everything felt different in the silence. The room glowed faintly with lamplight. It painted golden circles on the wall. The clock ticked slowly in the corner, each sound stretching into the stillness. He held a cup of tea between his hands. The steam rose in thin threads, vanishing into the dim air. He didn't drink it. He only watched it fade. Outside, the town slept, but for James. Sleep didn't come easily. The quiet always brought memories. He turned his gaze toward the creek. He couldn't see it from here, but he could hear it faintly, the slow, constant murmur of water moving over stone. It was a sound he had always known when he was a boy. He and his sister, Clara, used to run to that creek every summer. They would race across the bridge, barefoot, laughing, their voices echoing through the valley. He could almost hear her now. That light laugh, that bright voice calling his name. He closed his eyes. The sound came clearer in the dark. The past, alive again, woven softly into the night air. He remembered how they used to catch fireflies. Clara would cup her hands gently and hold the small light like a secret treasure. "Look," she would whisper. A star you can hold." James smiled faintly. He could still see her face, glowing with wonder, lit by the tiny pulse of golden light. Time had moved on, but some memories refused to fade. He stood up slowly. The floor creaked under his feet. He set the cup aside and reached for his coat. The night was calling softly, but clearly he opened the door. Cool air swept across his face. The scent of the earth and night filled his lungs. He stepped outside. The stars were brighter now. Thousands of tiny eyes watching silently. The moon hung low, half hidden by drifting clouds. Its pale light touched the rooftops, turning them silver. James walked down the path. The stones were cold under his shoes. The world seemed to breathe slowly around him. He passed the lamppost by the gate. Its light flickered faintly, like it was tired too. The road ahead stretched, quiet and empty. Not a sound but the whisper of the wind. He began to walk toward the creek. Night wrapped around him gently. It wasn't frightening. It felt almost alive. As if the town itself was awake, watching him walk through its memories. He crossed the small park. The fountain glimmered in moonlight. Its surface rippled softly, scattering silver reflections across the stone. James stopped for a moment. He listened. The sound of falling water was slower at night, as though it too had grown calm and tired. He touched the cool edge of the fountain. His fingers came away damp and cold. He smiled faintly. He remembered sitting here years ago, when the town was louder, younger, when he and Clara had come here to watch fireworks on summer nights. He could almost hear the laughter again. The sound of music drifting through warm air. the scent of roasted corn and old paper lanterns. The night had a way of bringing it all back, not sharply but softly. Like a dream returning, he walked on. The sound of the creek grew louder. He followed the narrow path behind the bakery, where the cobblestones turned to dirt. Fireflies blinked in the grass. Each one glowed, faded, then glowed again, as if keeping time with his steps. The creek appeared between the trees. Moonlight danced on its surface. The water moved slowly, dark and silver, whispering secrets to the stones. James stood on the old wooden bridge. The boards creaked under his weight. He rested his hands on the railing. The wood felt cool and worn smooth by years of touch. He looked down at the water. It shimmered, rippling with faint reflections of stars. He breathed in the night. Everything was still. Everything was full of memory. He whispered softly, "Clara." The name floated into the night, then disappeared. For a long moment. He just stood there, listening, remembering. A small gust of wind passed through the trees. Leaves rustled, and the water below trembled. James closed his eyes. And in that soft darkness, the memories unfolded completely. He was 12 again. The sun was high. Clara ran ahead, her hair catching the light. She turned and laughed, calling for him to hurry. He remembered how the world looked, then bright, endless, full of life. The sound of the creek was louder. The air warmer. The sky bluer than it had ever been since. He remembered her laughter, echoing off the rocks. He remembered how she slipped once, how he caught her hand, just in time. They had laughed about it for days. And then, as all summers do, that one ended too soon. Clara had grown quiet that autumn. The doctors had said words James didn't understand back then. And one winter morning, she was gone. The house had never sounded the same again. The world had never been as bright. He stood now, watching the same creek they once stood beside, the same water, the same stones, but everything different. Yet somehow the night felt gentle, not cruel, as if the world had kept her memory safe, as if she was still here. In the sound of the water, in the glow of the fireflies, in the breath of the night. He leaned on the railing. A single tear slid down his cheek. He didn't wipe it away. He let it fall into the creek below. It disappeared instantly. Joining the flow. Carried away into forever. James stayed there for a while. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He simply listened to the voice of the night, and to the quiet memory it carried. When he finally turned back, the town lay behind him, small and glowing with sleepy light. The path home looked silver under the moon. The lamp by the bakery still flickered faintly. It felt like the world had paused just for him. He walked slowly. Each step echoed softly on the road. His shadow stretched long and thin. By the time he reached his gate, the first hint of dawn had touched the sky, a faint gray light, like breath returning to the earth. The crickets had grown quiet. The air smelled fresh, tinged with dew. James stood there for a while, watching the slow birth of morning. Then he smiled, a small, peaceful smile. The memory still hurt, but it also felt warm now. Asterisk, not like loss, but like love that never left. He whispered again, so softly that only the wind could hear goodnight, Clara. Then he turned and walked inside. The room was cool, still glowing with lamplight. He took off his coat, set it over the chair, and looked once more out the window. The stars were fading. Asterisk. The night was ending, but the peace remained. He sat down, closed his eyes, and let the quiet of the town wrap around him again. Asterisk outside. The creek kept whispering. The same song, the same rhythm, the same gentle promise that nothing truly beautiful ever disappears. And somewhere between the sound of the water and the sigh of the dawn, Asterisk James finally slept.